2024.
The world is ravaged by a plague. No, we're not talking about the Rona. We're talking about the capitalistic death cult that values profits over the long-term health of humanity. What can be done to stop them and save the future of civilization? Find out only on Hard News.
When the poor steal or kill, it's called theft and murder. When the powerful steal and kill, it's called good business practice. And line go up seems to be the thing. Just a quick story. This is not getting a lot of attention, but the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada, who's about to become the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, he's refusing to get a security clearance. This is how it works. You don't have to be the elected Prime Minister to get a security clearance. When you get a security clearance, you get vetted. Once you get vetted, you get access to a lot of secret information. So you can get secret information in Canada in the same way you do as the president if you get a security clearance. That way, opposing MPs and other members of Parliament know the shit that's going on behind the scenes in order to argue and debate about it in Parliament. That's how the Canadian system works. The leader of the Conservative Party is refusing to do so, and it's actually kind of weird, and a lot of people are pointing towards the fact that a lot of people within his party actually are doing some pretty bad shit, and he doesn't want to get exposed for it because he knows he's about to win the election. There's absolutely, mathematically, as of right now, no chance of him not becoming the next Prime Minister if an election was held, say, today. Brampton Mayor Patrick Bond revealed Thursday that he doesn't believe foreign interference from India impacted the outcome of the Conservative leadership race in 2022, but India did play a role in pressuring his campaign. Brown testified at a standing committee on public safety and national security meeting of foreign interference, fielding a series of questions related to the 2022 Conservative leadership race for which he was ultimately disqualified. According to Brown's testimony, India Council generally took issue with positions taken by Brown and even language used in the reference to the Sikh community in Canada. Brown added that Conservative MP Michelle Rempel-Garner, who was a campaign co-chair at the time, was the recipient of an angry phone call from the Indian Consul General over her language being used by Brown in relation to the Sikh nation. There was a conference call where there was some concern from Rempel-Garner about some of the language I was using in the Gurdwaras in the membership drives. There was concern from, I believe, the Consul General to the MP that I used the word Sikh nation. When asked if India's actions constitute foreign interference, Brown said he would not directly confirm if he agreed. I think certainly some of the actions are in the gray. I'm used to having it, used to having dealt with the Indian government on a number of issues for a long time. I'm used to them being aggressive and stating their position. And also there's a huge problem in Canada right now where there's the targeted assassination of Sikh leaders, Sikh community members, people being shot, and the government not really taking it as seriously as they should be. And some of it may be tied to the fact that there are Conservative MPs who are on potential phone calls being told what they can and cannot say. It's very scary, and the fact that the leader is still refusing to this day to get security clearance leads me to wonder what the fuck is going on. But the campaign ads are already coming out. We got new campaign ads. The Canadian election is about to start. Either starting in 2025 or sooner. Hopefully not sooner. Jesus Christ.
In the next election, there are not 5 parties running. There are not 4 parties running. There are 2 parties running.
That's right.
There is the NDP Bloc Liberal Coalition that tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, unleash crime and chaos in your community, or common sense conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
Faux populism is working globally, everywhere that it is rearing its ugly head. It is working. It's basically a form of collectively identifying problems that neoliberalism is not answering. Usually economic woes, the inability to afford groceries, the inability to afford a house, and then saying, I'm the solution to this. And the cause of the problem is not going to be rich corporations, the housing sector, developers, predatory, employers, predatory employers, none of that shit. It's usually going to be immigrants, and it's very, very successful.
That is the choice.
That's right.
It is a binary choice. You vote for the NDP, you get the Liberals. You vote for the Liberals, you get the NDP. You vote for the Bloc, you get both the NDP and the Liberals. And if you are among the grand majority of Canadians who is unsatisfied with the downward spiral of our country, with the broken borders, broken immigration system, broken economy, if you want to bring home Canada's promise again and restore a country where hard work earns a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food and homes in safe neighborhoods, where anyone from anywhere can do anything in the freest nation on earth, in Canada, then let's bring it home.
I mean, if it sounds very similar, it is. The same kind of populism is coming out of different, politicians globally in different languages, but the message is very, very clear. And like I said, incredibly effective. One group, by the way, that has been added in Canada that I don't think the U.S. says. Actually, no, the U.S. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been going after, the fentanyl crisis and all that kind of stuff. Happens to be one other powerless group. Because obviously, when it comes to people who are closer to fascism, closer to the far right and stuff like that, they go over groups without power. Usually immigrants, usually, again, LGBTQ plus people, and people who have addiction problems and don't have homes. People who, again, are pretty powerless in society from a structure perspective.
The results are in on the Prime Minister's radical liberalization of hard drugs. He teamed up with the BC NDP to decriminalize fentanyl, crack, and heroin. He lowered jail sentences for mass producers of deadly fentanyl. And 80% of the fentanyl made in Canada is done so using ingredients that are not even regulated, but come right into our country where they're cooked into that poison, now threatening our trade relationship with the U.S. Will he reverse his radical liberal?
So if you didn't know, right now, I'm a little worried because the whole idea of Canada becoming the 51st state seems like it wasn't a joke. I know a lot of Americans are like, oh, no, Trump was just joking when he said that Canada is going to become the 51st state. Trump said it again in a recent interview where he's like, hey, by the way, we provide a surplus for Canada, something like $300 billion. I mean, at that cost, they should really become a U.S. state and start contributing towards our economy. And it's like, this is wild. I know that Ron DeSantis said that he was going to invade Mexico, and everyone was kind of like, that's wild. But it seems like America is starting to be like, hey, Canada, can we just have a non-violent, in many ways, absorbing of you as just a massive new state? And I think Trump suggested that it gets divided into two states, so it'll become the 51st and 52nd state. And he's allowing it to be both a liberal and a conservative state, which I don't think he understands the geography of Canada. It's not as if you just divided the country in two, that the left side could become liberal, the right side could become conservative or something like that, or flip those around. Also kind of weird. The majority of fentanyl in the United States does not come in through Canada. A very, very small percentage of it comes in through Canada. The majority of fentanyl does come in through Mexico. However, the majority of people who are importing fentanyl into the U.S. are Americans. American drug smugglers, American gang-affiliated members, people who are obviously abusing, the border to be able to smuggle vast amounts and quantities of these substances into the U.S., where the U.S. is a massive market for the consumption of drugs. And no, Trudeau did not legalize drugs in Canada. Drugs are not legal here. He did not legalize drugs federally. Crack cocaine is not legal in Canada. Neither is fentanyl. There is a pilot program in British Columbia specifically to decriminalize certain substances for possession for very small amounts, up to 1 gram of certain substances. There was like MDMA, heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine, I believe. And now that is slowly being eroded and reversed. The areas in which you can actually have that kind of possession and have it be not criminalized is slowly shrinking. Now it's, public parks, schools, stuff like that, if you're within a certain amount of feet, which effectively makes it criminalized again. So it was a small pilot program that was trying to address the massive crisis that we also have here, which is, again, the opioid crisis. But no, it's not true that there is a radical liberal legalized drugs agenda. And Trump is also lying. The majority of drugs are now coming in to the U.S. through Canada, and there isn't a monstrously huge problem with, the border. But it's sad to see every right-wing politician be like, sure, that's what's happening. It's all Canada's fault. Do whatever you need to do to save and end the drug problem in the U.S., which we can't do that because we're not the primary cause of the U.S.'s drug problem. Soul Life, thanks for becoming a member on the Surf Times. I appreciate that. And Political Pappy, thanks for gifting a tier 1 sub to Hunger Games for Hunger Games' birthday. I'm fairly certain the majority of it is produced here, and the majority of the precursors are shipped illegally through other ports, actually. There's a large percentage of drugs that are produced here. We actually are one of the world's leading manufacturers of MDMA, aka Molly. I found that out while researching it. We're not one of the world's leading producers of fentanyl. That one is not true. There is also a large production of legal fentanyl, because fentanyl is actually used by the healthcare system for a variety of needs, as is ketamine, as is other controlled substances. But you shouldn't be conflating those two as well, as in like, hey, there's a large manufacturing plant that is producing vast amounts of drugs, and if that happens to be a corporation that is actually developing them specifically for the use within the healthcare system, that's different. But yeah, you can be given ketamine in the hospital. That part is also true. I want to